Absolutely. So 2024, new year, new us, man, or just same consistent message? What do you think? What are we doing?
Well, I think we've got a brand new message, which is the title. Brian, you know what the message is, don't you?
Common for everything.
Right here, baby. So normally I wouldn't be wearing a workout T-shirt for one of our calls, but to hammer home the point, I've got my Coming for Everything T-shirt on. So I am very excited about this message, and I'll tell you, and then I'll turn it back over to you to kick it off, Brett. But I have themes every year. Last year we talked a lot about raise the bar, and I've done this from time to time, attack the process. It has been wild, the number of individuals, coaches, teams that have reached out to me over the last couple of weeks, seeing me start to post this Coming for Everything. People are just, it just kind of makes me laugh and smile, because it just kind of hit me like this is the theme for the year, and people are just leaning into it and loving it. And I hope today's call really hammers home the meaning behind it, and that you find the same value in the message and then decide to make that the way that you attack 2024.
Love it. Love it. Love it. You guys know that we do these every quarter. It's an honor to have Ben on here. He's one of my, best friends in the world. So we thank you for taking the time and doing this. We know that
I do this for Katie, not for you, by the way, but that's okay.
Well, 100%. That's an easy sell, though. Come on. We know things are starting to get better for all the guys. Most everyone here is a realtor, lender on the call. One of my very first coaches is on the call. Dixie Sanders, one of my favorite people in the world. Things are going to get a little bit better, but I think that we need to look at this when things start to improve and we start to see more volume and more contracts. I think we need to kind of be introspective and look at the last years and say, all right, well, what's my never going to do it again list? Like, what's the shit that I'm just going to take off my plate? I'm not going to do it again once the money starts to come in, once things get better, and once things, the lights turn back on. I know for me personally, spending, right? Like, I'm going to be a much better saver moving forward. There's a lot of depth to that. And just like really looking at, okay, when this happens, how are we going to take the next steps and not fall into the same traps that we've been in the last few years? Yeah. Ben?
I think it's so powerful, and I hope everybody, as a leader, a partner, a friend, but also a leader for so many individuals that are on this call as we spend this time together every quarter. Brett, I think it's awesome that you're being that open and transparent about it. One of the things, and me being a former financial advisor, and it's interesting, we've talked a lot about it, but Ed Milet is a dear, dear friend of mine and, mentor in my life. And his podcast is one of the only podcasts, as busy as my schedule is, that I have time to listen to. And he does these segments where it's just him solo every week. And he did one on, good, solid money decisions to generate wealth. And I would encourage everybody to listen to that, because what Brett is sharing is common with what happens. You do really well and things are exciting and a lot of money comes in, and you can be enticed to go do the things that are so sexy and attractive that you see online. You upgrade the car, you upgrade the house, but you forget to take care of you. You forget to do the things that, as close as you work with money every single day, you forget to do the things that you need to do to make sure that your house is in order, so that when the rates do what the rates have done and you have the pain that you've experienced over the last couple of years, you actually have the strength to stay in the business with more peace of mind rather than just holding on. And I know it's tough to hear, but the analogy Brett just gave is turning the lights back on. I know many of you are probably on that final. You feel like those lights are turned off, and I'm this close to not being able to pay the bills, or I've had to cut out things. And so I encourage you, as you go back up that mountain this time around, that you plan the right way, because I think that's Brett sharing with you, as hard as it is to say, that that's something he's going to do differently this time around. And Brett, I admire you for being that transparent.
Oh, absolutely. It's forward focus. I hate resolutions. I like plans. You know what I mean? Resolutions last about 60 seconds until something sexy pops up. But us, plans, like this year I have planned the Tokyo Marathon. I have Berlin Marathon. I have New York. Like, it means I need to be in shape all year long strategically, right? That's an actual plan, as opposed to, hey, let's throw caution to the wind and I'm going to work out and then do it again in 6 months kind of thing, right?
Absolutely. It's funny that you say that the resolutions last 60 seconds. I did a podcast interview yesterday, and actually one of the local TV stations. Some of you may not know, I don't really talk that much about it, but I live in St. Louis, Missouri, and one of the local TV stations, they reached out on Monday of this week and said, hey, can we, come and interview you and talk about New Year's resolutions in the year? And I cannot wait for them to get here, because I'm going to say the exact same thing that I said on this podcast yesterday on Friday. I'm going to say it's enough of people talking about resolutions. So let's think about this. When you say New Year's resolutions, and as tough as this is on the ears, it's the truth of it. If I say New Year's resolution, what do most of you think? Oh, 900 people set resolutions and then they quit a week in, or they never even start, or I did a resolution once and it lasted 3 weeks. So let's stop talking about the resolutions, which is just a seed that gets planted for a short period of time. And if you really want to say coming for everything and live a coming for everything mindset, then you absolutely have to have the discipline on a daily basis. Discipline is not a resolution. Discipline is a way of life. And I commend each and every single one of you who have been able to withstand the pain that you've experienced over these last couple of years. And I know the fight's not over yet. It's the, Fed's saying what the Fed's going to do. And even though we probably can't explain or even try to figure out how the hell they're going to drop, rates 4 times over the next year, I think the only explanation is that it's a political year, which if that's what it's going to do to get it back on track, let it be what it's going to be. But I think the reality is we have to be disciplined, because the resolutions only last so long. And so I think that's a really, really important message. Anything else, Brett? Because I'm ready to get fired away here.
No, go for it. Go all in.
All right. So one apology that I have to make, and Belen, if you were on there, I apologize to you as well for my first Uncommon Live session of the year. Or Brett, if you were on there for a while, a lot of what I wanted to share with all of you, because the majority of you are not members of Uncommon Live, is exactly what I shared on that first message. So Brian, this is going to go on repeat for you. Maybe you can score me at the end and say, hey, this was better the second time around. Or, man, I can't believe I had to listen to that message again. But I say it with a smile on my face. And when messages stick and when messages resonate, that's one of the most meaningful things for me. So if I can keep your attention, Brian, then let's roll. And total side note, it was one of the coolest parts of my holiday season. I got a text message on Christmas, and it was from Brian Batten. And Brian had sent me a message, and it was a picture of a "Now We Go" sign that his daughter had made for him. You guys know I'm an emotional guy. It's almost going to make me cry. That's why I do what I do. So Brian, you have no idea, you knew I was fired up when we texted back and forth when you sent me that picture. But guys, I do this because I want to make a difference in your life. And Brian, when I got that, where my mind goes, because I pay attention to the details, and my thoughts follow through to how did that happen? And what happened is I would have to imagine there were "Now We Go" conversations in your house, or you talking about "Now We Go," or those 3 words empowered you to have different conversations with your children and different conversations in your home, to the point where your daughter thought it was an amazing idea to make you a "Now We Go" sign. That literally hit my heart to the core. And it was one of my highlights of Christmas. I never like opening up gifts for myself. So I love giving gifts. And that was one of the coolest gifts anybody could have given me. And it wasn't even a picture for me. It was a picture that your daughter had made for you. And so what a wonderful gift that you shared with me. And I'm grateful for that. Let me start here. The calendar does not care. And so it's interesting, Brett, that you picked up on what I said yesterday. I'm going to say later in the week that resolutions are a joke. Everybody gets these resolutions and I get fired up, and it's so fleeting. It doesn't last. It's kind of like motivation. It's why I always share with individuals. I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm a coach. So when my veins start popping and I get excited, can I get people fired up to want to take action? Absolutely, I can. But if that action doesn't cause somebody to think, act differently, show up differently day after day after day, like Brian, to where now we go has become part of how he lives and breathes and talks and shows up, then it's motivation and it's fleeting and it lasts a few days. You don't even remember what I said. You just, oh, that guy got me fired up. I don't want to get you fired up today. I want to remind you of what's going to make this the best year that you've ever had, not just because the rates are going to go down 2, 3, 4 times and you're going to have a much better environment. But the reason why you're going to have your best year ever is because the strength that you have built over the last 2 years, sustaining and withstanding pain that most people would not go through. So Brett, let me pull you in one more time. What are the numbers now for people that have left the industry, real estate and mortgage, since you and I have gone over this over the last couple of years?
It keeps going up. I think realtors is somewhere north of 50% or right around 50. And I think lenders, it's in the 60s.
Okay, so this is why this is going to be your best year ever. So there's 60% of lenders who have left. There's 50% of individuals in the real estate community that have left, and you withstood the pain. That means there's this muscle that you have built inside of you and this belief, I can withstand this pain. And like I shared with so many of you, I joked that it was going to be fourth quarter of this year. It's probably going to be way sooner than that. But because you stayed in the fight, when those rates go down, those no's are going to hit you different. Those yeses are going to hit you different. When you get those yeses, it's not going to be that yes that used to be met with the seduction of success. You're going to hear a yes, and it's going to make you hungry for more, which you haven't experienced yet. Many of you, you came into the industry when you were literally closing deals, whether it be as a real estate agent or in the mortgage business. You could have closed deals over a cell phone. People were so excited to buy property. And so like it was text messages and you're closing deals. Now, because it's been taken away from you, when you get a yes, you're not going to be seduced by success. You're going to be hungry for more. You're going to lean into it more. When those rates go down, you're going to work that much harder. You're going to go find all those people who told you, I can't do this loan right now with rates where they are. Get back in touch with me. And you're going to have this list, and the pain and the strength that you've built, coupled with the environment and the climate and a better financial situation. This is going to be your best year ever. And the beauty of this opportunity, the calendar does not care. I want to read you something that Tyler Kirk from our team wrote. So if you go to my Instagram at Continued Fight. So Tyler, who's been our creative director for over 7 years now, on Sundays, he does what are called swipe posts. And swipe posts, you know, several images, and you swipe through them and you read them. And he wrote this caption. So the credit goes to him. He wrote this 2 years ago, and now he posts it every year on New Year's Eve. But this is so powerful because the calendar doesn't care. You know, a lot of times, oh, I'm waiting for this next year. Here's going to be the resolution. This is so powerful. As we turn the page on another year, most people are setting themselves up with big goals. New year, new you mentality. Now, there's nothing wrong with marking the new year with goals of change, but I want to remind you of something. Although it's important to have the end goal in mind, that goal you set doesn't care what day on the calendar it is or what your intentions are. It only cares about your consistent action. The only way this year is going to be different for you is if you set out to commit to daily disciplines that are going to produce the result that you're looking for. Stop blaming everyone and everything else. I truly believe 2024 can be your best year yet. But remember, discipline is bigger than a calendar.
Pretty good.
Some of what I've shared up until this point, what Brett shared about resolutions, Brett going and running marathons, which I can tell you, he gives me the real story, so he can be mad at me for sharing this, although he may share it with some of you because I know he is somewhat of a big baby. You know, his body has been breaking down, knees and calves, and yet he's still choosing to go run these marathons. And it's not like one, it's like I'm flying across the world to Tokyo, which you got to qualify for. I've worked with other runners in the past. Like, you can't just get a ticket to show up to Tokyo. Like, that's a very hard race to get into. So he's fighting to try to get into the race. Plus he's going to run other races and all of these types of things. And he keeps running. That's not normal. to say, resolutions last 60 seconds, to recognize that that's not normal. Because what we all want to do is we want to seek the comfort of what everybody does, right? Let's make our resolutions and live in the comfort of resolutions. Let's go get that gym membership and be happy that we signed up for it, but never go to the gym one time, right? That's the normal behavior where society wants us to live. I want to encourage all of you, because you've already lived this way, but now we're going to see how much you really believe it. The fact that you have sustained and withstood what you have over the last 2 years, each and every single one of you, you're not normal. What's normal is to do what the 60% did that quit. What's normal to do is the 50% that quit. And I want to encourage all of you this year to choose to not be normal. So Corral Muhaz, who we're going to go and spend time with, I shared this story. She is an absolute beast. She's one of the top female entrepreneurs in all of Mexico. She's a coach. She's an absolute force. I mean, companies are flying her to Miami. They're doing full spreads on her in magazines in Miami. She's an absolutely amazing woman, and she's a bodybuilder. She's going to go and win the Arnold in February. I'm going to go watch her compete. I mean, she's an absolute savage in everything that she does. And she and I were having a call last week, one of our kickoff calls for the year. And I shared this online and told her that I had to share this message. But we were talking, and she made a comment to me. She said, I am not normal. I don't aspire to be normal. So many people would say, oh, I want the comfort of where politics tells me to be. I want the comfort of telling me, everything is going to come around. Don't work hard. You're not going to get anything done. But you all have decided to fight. You all have decided to work. You all have decided to lean in, as painful as it's been, and having paychecks that are far less than they used to be. But you decided to stay. That's not normal. So I want you to follow me with this message from Corral. And I want you to recognize how powerful it is for you to lean in to not be normal. Because when things get better, it's easy to become complacent. It's easy to go back to that camp of normal. You've already proved to yourself you're not normal. Don't you ever go back to that camp. Don't ever go back to that camp. So Corral starts to tell me, she said, I went to the doctor recently, because as you start getting ready to compete, you go and you have checkups and you make sure that your body's doing what your body needs to do so that your body can grow and do everything. And so the doctor tests her blood pressure. And she says, after testing her blood pressure, the doctor comes back and says, Corral, your blood pressure is so low. It is so low. It's out of the normal range. And he says it with this concern, like, we really need to be worried about this. And
you should be more stressed.
Yeah, she looks at him and she says, I don't want my blood pressure to be in the normal range. She said, I'm an athlete. She goes, when my blood pressure's low, I have less stress. I have more focus. It's actually been a great benefit of mine when I compete to have a low blood pressure. Why would I ever want to be in the normal range? And you think about it, doctors are trained to have conversations with Baird about his health staying in the normal range. Well, the way that he pushes and challenges, I'd be willing to bet if we took a blood panel for Brett, that there'd be a lot of things that are out of the normal range because of how he's pushing and challenging his body. Why would he ever want to be in the normal range? And society wants to put us in these normal ranges. Well, I'm 5 years into the business as a real estate agent. Here's the average of where you should be. Who gives a shit about average? The hell would you want to be average for? You didn't stay in this fight for the last 2 years to be average. You stayed in this fight. When the rates go down and other people try to come back into this business, I want you to be so far above the damn normal ranges. I want you to be so above average that they say, you know what about that Raul? You know about Jorge? You know about Alfredo? Those guys, they acted like they were coming for everything. Nothing could stop those guys. How could I ever catch them? And let your competition fall back to normal. Who the hell wants to be normal? Now, I know I'm getting intense, but I'm so tired of people with these candy-coated, sugar-coated bullshit messages allowing people to protect themselves. And this is your year. This is your year. Prove to yourself that you're not normal. Prove to yourself that you can have the best year that you ever have. Prove to yourself that you don't have to be content. Prove to yourself that you can save more money. Prove to yourself that you can be a better mother. Prove to yourself that you could be a better father. Prove to yourself that you could be a better friend. Who the hell wants to be normal? And I spoke to a group of financial advisors last week. Here's another example. And I think this one is pretty funny. So when you apply for life insurance, okay, so I used to sell life insurance. That's how this all started for me. Back in 2004, I was a financial advisor doing financial planning, life insurance, investment planning. Now you guys are all happy I don't have those licenses anymore, because if I was still selling life insurance, none of you would want to talk to me and you wouldn't sign up for these damn calls with Baird. So my licenses are turned off. I don't sell life insurance anymore. But the last time I applied for life insurance, they came back and they said, we can't give you the very best rates. Your BMI is too high. So I said, what? He said, my BMI is too high. So the insurance company came back and said, yeah, we're going to rate you. You know, essentially they're telling me I'm overweight. And I thought, oh my goodness, great. They said, your BMI is so outside of the normal range. Now, I say this very humbly. It's obvious, you know, Baird teases me about it. I stay in great shape because I don't think you guys are going to listen to me if I'm out of shape. I know that the professional and collegiate athletes I work with are not going to listen to me when I'm out of shape. So yes, I stay in the shape of an NFL linebacker. Now, when you're in the shape of an NFL linebacker, your BMI is going to be high. So I literally said, what do you need me to do? I joked with my agent. I said, you want me to send a freaking picture of what I look like? I said, this is ridiculous. I said, what do I want? Do I want a life of being in shape? I said, if you want to charge me extra rates because you think my BMI is high, I said, absolutely, I will pay the extra rates, but I will not change the way that I live. Would I rather be somebody who occasionally goes to the gym, jogs, and has one of those little runner's bellies so that I could keep my BMI lower? Absolutely not, because I'm going to push and challenge myself in every area of my life. And if that angers some of you to hear that, you're darn right. If you've got that little belly, I want that belly off of you this year. I want you to get into better shape. I want you to not be normal. And I know my messaging is not for everybody, but I'm tired. I'm tired of dealing with people that are normal, people who just can't understand this. If you can't handle me wanting to push you to have better health so you can live a longer life, I could never be your coach. And I'm okay with that. But those of you that are willing to lean into the message that I know you could be better with your health, I know you could be better with different things, just like I still have two coaches. I'm reading books every day. I take advice from guys like Brett Baird. Brett, how many times have I done an online event, or you came to an event, you called me and said, hey man, I got some honest feedback for you? Did I say, hey bro, I got this figured out, like I don't like feedback? Or what did I say to you?
No, you love it. You love it. You know, I've seen stuff that you haven't seen. You've seen stuff that I haven't seen. So we always bounce things off each other. I mean, that's the beauty. And so, like, of it, right?
How am I going to get better? How are you going to get better if you just stay in this normal camp where it's like, I don't want to hear that. I just want to stay normal. Just give me a little pat on the back and tell me I'm doing great. Like, I'm telling you right now, I'm being even harder on you than I've ever been, because I want you to have this coming for everything mindset, because I don't want you to be complacent when times get really, really good for you again. I want you to remember the pain. And because of the pain, I want you to experience the greatest growth that you've ever had. So I don't want you to be normal. I want you to be so far out of the range of normal that people say, how in the world, Belen, are you doing this much business? My business slept for a year. Like, Belen, how do you have this momentum? How are you doing this? How is this possible? And by that time, it's not even possible for them to catch you, because you're the ones who continue to work. And so I want you to lean into being your best in all areas of your life this year. I don't want you to be normal. Just like Corral said, aspire to not be normal. If you want to be normal, you're never going to understand what your very best looks like in your personal life, in your professional life, and in how you serve others. So I know I'm being intense today, but I want you to be your best. I want you to have this coming for everything mindset. Now, normally I don't do this, but because I'm being intense and in fairness to all of you, what questions, what thoughts? Brett, do you have anything? Brian, Belen, does anybody have anything they want to ask of me before I keep going?
I just think it's really cool to see how we talk about resolutions, we talk about goals, stuff like that, to see actual change in people, right? Like we talk about Corral. And if you look at Corral's like earlier story, Corral was a drunk. She was a drunk. She was
Bulimic.
overweight. She was like bulimic. She was half dead, right? And then she decided to actually change, and whether that be a resolution or a goal or whatever you guys want to look at, right? She decided to change, and now she's going to go compete in the Arnold. I don't know. She'll make what, 15 or 20 million dollars this year being a coach. Like she's major. And she did it because
I can't talk about those things, but I'll just tell you she's a savage.
She does well. But she decided to make a change, right? I decided to make a change when I weighed 230 pounds. I'm 185 today. It's 45 pounds, right? And I got another 10 to go. Like right now is the time when we can decide to make the changes that impact the rest of the year and the rest of our lives. We just got to grab it.
Anybody else?
Belen?
One of the biggest things last year and this year is I realized that I love to work, and I used to feel guilty. Ben, you and I would talk about it many times, and feeling like I was not doing my 100 because I needed to be more with my kids, and I couldn't find the balance. Now I realize that when you embrace who you are and you keep working hard, even if you hit rock bottom, you're gonna get out of it in a very, very good way. I have my little friend here.
I love that.
Hey, Chito.
So I decided not to take him to school because I was out for a couple of days. So they're staying with me today, working at home. But just to conclude, that it's really amazing how you can change in very small, short of time when you decide to do it. So business is doing amazing right now. And for the last quarter, it was the best quarter for me. So just because that tweak and that change mentality and just being around, you guys helped me so much to have that mentality and stick with it. Even though the world is saying otherwise, this is what I'm coming for. And I'm not a normal achiever. So it's okay. I embrace that.
Belen, I actually, let me ask you in the form of a question. Did you think this morning, give us and maybe the answer is no for you. Did you think because you were staying home, not feeling well, and you were going to have your kids not to come on this call today? Did that ever cross your mind? Maybe I won't.
No.
Like that right there is not a normal decision. Most people are going to say, well, I don't really want to get on this Zoom screen. I'm home. I haven't been feeling well. Nobody, I mean, we don't do roll call. There's no payment to come to this, right? I mean, this is not, I'm not charging you guys for this time today, right? So it's Belen, you could have just easily made the choice to not. Those are the little decisions that are not normal that cause you to have a best quarter during a time when people are in so much pain. So I congratulate you on continuing to do the little things and making those choices. And your kids are absolutely adorable. It's the first time I've seen one of them live, but always cute in the pictures, but adorable.
Thank you.
Brian, I know when we were on the Uncommon call, I think you unmuted and I was on such a run that I could not stop. But what thoughts do you have around this message?
No, I think it's great. I was just thinking while you're talking, I got a picture of Secretariat hanging up in my office, and there's a jockey on there, and he's about 30 links ahead of the crew, and the jockey's kind of looking back, and Secretariat's focused forward. And I've got it up, and a lot of people come in my office and ask, like, hey, why do you have, what's that about? And it's, to me, it's you're running your own race, and the pack is, like you're saying, is normal. And Brett knows this. I walked away from a pretty substantial position with a public home builder, and had a lot of influence and a lot of region, abundance. And I felt, and I left about a year ago, and a lot of people have asked, like, you were the top guy. I mean, why'd you leave? And I felt normal. I mean, I felt like I wasn't challenged, and I could do so much better and so much more. And it was a huge risk, a lot of stock I walked away from, a lot of history, and 11 and a half years of being the guy. And I just knew there was so much more, and it would have been normal. It'd probably been abnormal to stay, but it'd been normal in that group, in that peer setting, to be, to continue going on and chucking another year down. But I knew I had so much more to offer and I could do so much more for my family. And it was a huge risk. And it's been rewarding over this past year to kind of dig in and be a part of groups like this because, like you've said before, and a lot of people said, iron sharpens iron. And to grab on, I'm on, I love Brett to death and he's a dear friend, but he's invited me to be a part of this mortgage group, and I'm not in mortgages, but I'm in home building. But to grab on an uncommon live and to go on some of these events that you've had and Ed's had and Andy's had, and to go, and that's reaching out and flying there, staying in hotels and taking notes and getting everything you can to sharpen the iron. I feel like if I can do those things consistently, it is abnormal. And I want that abnormal life for my family. I want my daughter, it's interesting that you brought that up because it meant a lot to me when she gave it. It was actually my favorite. My wife gets a little pissed at me when I say this, but it was my favorite gift. My birthday was 4 days after Christmas, but it's been my favorite gift that I've had probably the whole year. And the reason, and the little bit of side story that you don't know behind it, was I said, how did you do this? And she said, well, I said, where did you get this? I was thinking it was off your website or something. Or she's like, no, I made it. And I'm like, man, and that meant even more to me. I mean, she had it framed. And so I said, well, where did this come from? And she said, these people call you or they come over and they want you to mentor them. She's like, I always hear that phrase in our house. Like people come over like, well, hey, can you mentor me or can you do goals with me or whatever? And Brett knows these past stories. And she was like, this guy was over here. He's a younger guy in search for a new career. And he was over here we had a group dinner or a party over here. And she's like, I heard you talking to him. And she said, you gave him that book, The Standard. She's like, you need to read this. And, I've got a couple in my library now that I hand out. And so she said, I heard you telling the story about Ben and now we go. And she's like, it was so impactful on him. And I saw the difference when he left our house. And this was, I had no idea she was even listening to the conversation. But one of the most important things, like you said, how it touched you on Christmas morning, it touched me. My daughter was on the side listening to me. And I was giving a great message to somebody. And it was a great example of, I was proud to be a father, a father moment right then, because there was an example of how I'm living and my daughter's just observing and it made an impact on her. So it's just those kind of things that, being normal, fuck normal. I mean, let's go be abnormal and go make a difference for our families and go make some shit happen that, we can change the destiny of our lives and the people that are watching.
One of my favorite Brian Batten stories, real quick here, is when Brian left this position, and Brian said he worked for a big home builder. I think he was in charge of maybe 4,000 or 5,000 closings a year, thousands, right? Like $1 billion in volume. And so he leaves the home builder, and instead of going through a headhunter, submitting a job application online, you approached how many CEOs directly of home builders? 5?
7. Yeah.
7. So he sends out 7 emails directly to CEOs of the top builders in America. And I believe he got 3 offers back. He got every CEO hit him up directly. They responded to him like, instead of going through some roundabout normal way to get a position, he took the bull by the horn, so to speak, hit these guys up directly and had 3 offers on the table, probably within 48 hours. Unbelievable.
And I'm not surprised.
Yeah, at all.
Brian, let me ask you a question, or Brett or Belen, or somebody else can chime. So when and it hit me while I was saying it, because I want it to come from some of you, because I can say it, but then we kind of fall into that camp of, well, he's just trying to motivate us. How does he know? When I said that you've developed a different strength than you've had in the past, and some of you have been in this, home building, real estate, mortgage world for, a couple of decades plus. And so you have experienced some downturns, but some haven't. But when I share this different strength, the fact that you've stayed in the business, coupled with what's going to happen with rates, am I on point? Like I'm not just saying this. Like, do you feel that? Do you sense that is the truth? If people
100%.
choose to live that way?
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Go a little deeper. What have you felt, Brett? Because you experienced 08. You've experienced other times. And I know this one was the worst that
This
you've
one
experienced.
felt longer. This one felt longer. It felt deeper. It felt slower. I also in 08, I didn't have the bills that I have. 2008 bills are different than 2022 bills and 2023 bills. So for me, it was this was a more challenging one. You know what I mean? January is going to be our best month in over a year. We're already stacked in February, so it's looking up. I did want to ask, I got my buddy Andy Beagle on here, Mr. Andy. Andy's a young guy, up and comer, and he last year managed to close $75 million in volume. Would you do 260 units or something like that last year?
Yeah. Yep.
Is that about right? What do you attribute that to?
I think just the consistency of showing up every day and doing the shit that I don't want to do, but also getting creative in a down market. We grew 15% year over year when everybody else was down 40%. But, we changed up the way that we did things. We took a new approach to agent relationships, and it really went a long way for us.
Congrats, brother.
Thanks, man.
He whipped my ass pretty good last year. I'm excited about this year.
And Andy, how long have you been in the business?
I started as a loan originator in 2019.
Awesome. Amazing.
Yeah. I got socks older than him.
But hey, I've had a lot I've had a lot of great mentors in my corner, Brett being one of them, who's helped me out a lot, especially when I was getting off the ground running. And, what was really cool to me is, and something that obviously just speaks to Brett's character, is I was a loan originator doing no deals with no value to add to him. And he still took the time to coach me and jump on the phone with me, text me back and forth. And this guy was doing, 800 units a year at the time. And I'm sure the last thing that he had time for was some random little kid in Columbus, Ohio, that just thought he was a cool guy through a mutual friend of ours. And, it's something that I obviously really appreciate, Brett. And, I take a lot of the perspectives that you give me and building my team and coaching the people that, I've been fortunate enough to help out. So.
Thanks, brother.
Hey, Andy, the Arnold is in Columbus, Ohio. So I'll be there February 29th and March 1st to watch Corral compete. So maybe you'll have to come through and you and I can both look like a couple of skinny guys.
There we go. Let's link up. We'll make it happen.
With all these people competing. That's what I need to do. I need to take a picture of me compared to one of them and send it to the life insurance underwriters and say, "What are you talking about? My PMI is high. Like, give me better rates."
Look at this guy.
I love it.
What are you people talking about? Andy, let me ask you one more follow-up question, then I'm actually going to tie it into something that I've prepared to share with all of you. So you mentioned the discipline that caused you to do that. If you were to say there was one discipline that stands out, like, gosh, I knew I had to do that every day, what would you say the most significant discipline was to get the results you did?
I would say the one thing was, just get used to hearing no and be, callous yourself to the no, right? It's buyers are going to tell you no. Real estate agents that you're calling on to meet with are going to tell you no. Home builders are the first ones that are going to tell you no. But call all of them. Don't be afraid of saying no and continue to show up day in and day out. I'm responsible for other people's food on the table on our team. And so that was my number one driving factor. But, I think the discipline of just still making the calls when you don't want to, and when you expect the answers to be no, and still making the calls, because there's going to be a yes buried in there every once in a while.
I love it. Powerful.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me share a story, and then we'll open up for some more dialogue. Some of you have heard me share this story before, but when it comes to planning in a year and thinking bigger. And I want to make sure with this opportunity that you have, with this strength that you've built from withstanding all this pain, going through all this adversity, knowing what rates are going to do, I want to make sure that you're focused on the right daily disciplines that are going to keep you uncomfortable and challenge you to grow and not be seduced by success.
Hey.
So one of my dear, dear friends has been the fiduciary on our estate for years. Even when I was a financial advisor, you still have to find somebody that's responsible to take care of your kids and financials if God forbid something happens to mom and dad. So my wife and I selected our dear friend Paul Foster years ago. And it was a huge blessing for me that Paul and his firm would bring me in to do planning with their organization year after year after year. So I want to take you back to 2018. We did planning with their firm. This story I actually tell in the book, The Standard. And I'm there for planning in January, and they're sharing their goals with me so then we can reverse engineer and break down and make sure they're locked in on the disciplines that are going to give them the highest probability of hitting their goals. As I share this story, I want you to think about the goals that you've already set, established. Some of you, we talked about them back in October when we did our call, which was the planning call to get you excited for this moment that you're in. Maybe Belen, my process does work, and that's why you had the best quarter, because we got you fired up, not worried about the things that weren't happening, but worried about the things you believed you could do. And so I'm there in January, and there's 5 advisors in this firm. And I said, well, somebody, what's the goal for new money brought in? So they call it assets under management. And one of the advisors raises his hand. We're going to bring in $80 million of money this year. It's going to be the most we've ever brought in as a firm. Now, you all have gotten to know me a little bit for those that we've spent time together. And I tend to like to stretch and challenge and push you to think bigger. So I hear 80 million and I just couldn't help myself. I said, well, my goodness, like 80 million is so close to 100. Why wouldn't you just go for 100? And what are the terrible, awful things that are going to happen if you go for 100? And one of the advisors goes, gosh, Ben, like we knew that you were going to do this. Like it's the big, like 80 million is the biggest, like we've never come close to 80. Like this is huge for us and you want to push us to 100. Another advisor raises his hand. Hey, Ben, can we redo our goals? I said, absolutely. I said, I'm just asking questions. I said, they're your goals. So all of a sudden, these 5 advisors, they all write down a number on a piece of paper. I went around, I added it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 110 million. So just by asking the question, are you sure you can't do more? Are you sure you don't believe in a little bit more? Have you really given your permission to go all in? Have you given yourself permission, or maybe because of the no's that Andy alluded to, you give them so much weight that number's a little less than it could be because you take time off when you hear too many no's sometimes. So now maybe when you set your goal, think about Andy saying, my discipline is I don't care about those no's. I will keep going. I'll keep hammering disciplines. I'll do what I need to do. I'll stay relentless. Those are non-negotiables. I won't make excuses. Well, maybe some of you might change one of your goals right now here in this story. So they go from 80 to 110 in a matter of minutes. Fast forward a year later, I get an email from Paul in preparation for my visit to come back to their organization to do planning again. Paul says, I've attached an email or a Excel spreadsheet on this email. Do not open the spreadsheet until you and I get live on the phone. We get on the phone and he says, okay, open up the spreadsheet. He said, do you remember our goal? I said, yeah, the goal was 110 million. He said, go all the way over to the right-hand side where it says total assets we brought in for the year. Read it to me. 140 million. So here the firm, these 5 advisors, because all I did was challenge them to think a little bit bigger and not accept the 80. They end up bringing in $140 million of money. What would have been the odds of bringing in 140 million if they kept the goal of 80? Clearly, they would have done more than the 80 because they had a great year, but they wouldn't have come close to 140 million because people want to do what's normal. And that's to protect yourselves when it comes to setting your goals. So I want to encourage you to lean in. Now, if what happened with Belen, because here's the challenge for Belen. So Belen, back before that quarter when we did the planning, you maybe didn't see the landscape and then you started to see a bigger landscape. Well, now the reason why we have to have this conversation in January is because maybe the goals that you set back in October, they're not big enough anymore. And now's your chance to say, you know what, I need to tweak that goal and make it just a little bit bigger so that those little eyes that are watching me on my house that pop onto that Zoom screen, they know that I'm pushing myself to be the best example that I can be. So just like they change their goals, maybe you'll change yours. Paul then says to me, Ben, do you remember what my goal was? And I said, yeah, your goal was to bring in 40 million. He said, scroll down, go all the way over to the right. Read me the number that I brought in, 62 million. None of you are financial advisors, so it might be hard to put this into context. That's like unheard of. Like there's maybe like 0.005% of people in the world who are financial advisors that'll bring in $62 million, you know, unless you get some big monster accounts from companies that you're managing. But like working with families and helping people generate wealth, like 62 million, that's an unheard of number, one person. Their firm, when I started working with them about 10 years ago, they were managing 93 million of money. Because they've continued to push and stretch themselves, they now manage over $1.5 billion. So there's two advisors that take care of our money, a gentleman by the name of Claudio and Paul. It's been a benefit for me because they've both been friends for a long time. Now they work together. Those two advisors, both of them in their camps and what they do, it's unheard of what they've done for people's financial futures. It is so out of the bounds of normal, and that's what I'm attracted to. And I think if you really think about it, that's what you're attracted to. That's who you want to do business with. That's who you want to trust with your money, is the people who do things that are completely not normal. These conversations aren't normal. So I say to Paul, actually he says to me, he goes, do you know how I did it? He goes, do you remember what you challenged me to do? He says, because when we set the 40, you followed me into my office. And I said to you, Ben, what do you think I need to do to hit the 40 million? And I said, Paul, I said, what I would do if I were you is 2 times per day, I would contact 2 A++ opportunities. I didn't say you have to sell them something, you have to schedule them, you have to meet with them. I said, I just wanted you to create the behavior of consistently making yourself uncomfortable to reach out to 2 really big opportunities a day, A++ opportunities. He said, Ben, I did it every single day I worked. He goes, I didn't miss it one single day. Discipline. Not a single day. He said, that is how I hit the 62 million. So I want to make sure that all of you, I know a bunch of us, we did our goal setting together. Now I want to, is that goal big enough, or do you have enough momentum like Belen from really getting after it this last quarter and making it a quarter when she looks back on it like, how did that happen? Because Belen, because you believed, because you didn't go up, you didn't give up, because you leaned in when I encouraged you all to lean in. So maybe you need to make that goal a little bigger. And then once you make it bigger, rather than having fear, is that too big? I want you, Belen, to do what Paul did and say, what's the one thing? If I do this one thing, it's going to give me the highest probability. Right? What's that extra discipline that I need to do in conjunction with the things you know you need to do? And that becomes your unrequired. If you guys remember, you've heard me talk about the unrequired over the years, or those of you that have read The Standard, you've heard me talk about the unrequired. Those of you that read Uncommon Leadership, I consistently talk about the same things. Here's why. Because when you understand the recipe for success, and you've been as part of as many championships as I have been in the world of sports and in business, the recipe doesn't have to change, but we have to consistently scrutinize and make sure we're focused on the right things. So for Paul, that unrequired, and remember the definition of the unrequired. The unrequired are the things that other people can't see, they don't want to do, they don't want to talk about, that the highest performers in the world choose to make a priority. So what I want you to do is make sure your goals are big enough, and then I want you to reverse engineer, pull it back and say, what are the things I need to do? And then what's my little bit extra? What's my 2 A++ a day that when I do it every single day, knowing those little eyes are watching me, that I will absolutely hit those goals. And if any of you do it every single day and you fall short of your goals, I will give you the biggest hug I could possibly give you when I see you, because you're growing. Because I don't care about the number of the results. I care about the discipline. And we all know that if you follow through with the great discipline that it takes, Belen might say, I just increased my goal by 20%. Belen, you may miss it by 10% of that new big goal, but that 10% of the new goal is higher than the old goal. And you know that even though you fell short, you had the courage to chase it, attack it by doing the required with the unrequired, by winning one day at a time, and you're growing. But as long as all of you can look in the mirror and say, I gave my best every single day, and you don't cheat yourself when you look in that mirror of accountability. Then nobody can ever take that away from you. And that is how winning is done. And that is how I believe if you show up with this coming for everything mindset, this is going to be a year that is going to stagger your imagination. It's going to blow you away. And I want to hammer this home one more time, and then I want to get some thoughts and feedback, and then I'm going to finish up. When you have this incredible success that I'm alluding to, and I know that it's coming, I've been working with individuals in your industry for a long, long time. Some of the best to ever walk the face of the earth. Brett Baird is one of those. I know what success looks like in this business. I understand that it's coming. I know for a fact you all have more strength than you've ever had. So you're going to have some amazing months where you're going to receive some checks that are going to be these enormous blessings. Do not worry about the size of the check. Do not be seduced by success. Put some money away for yourself. Invest in the growth of your business. Maybe you donate a little money to make a difference in other people's lives. But the most important thing is, I want you to think about the person that you need to help next. And then the person you need to help next. And then the person you need to help next. And then the person you need to help next. And the person you need to help next. Those who focus on the money never achieve their highest level of success. And I would submit that that's for individuals who have maybe made $3-4 million in a year. Somebody who's made $3-4 million a year in your business, if they focus too much on money or trivial things, I would tell you they haven't even experienced their best yet, because now they can do it by not focusing on money too much, which then they're going to make 5 million and 10 million and say, how the hell is this possible? Because you stopped being seduced by success. You didn't worry about the money anymore. You just worried about being your best every day. And when you have that amazing month, you just think about that next person that you're going to help. And I think if you stay in that mindset, which is not normal, and you stay connected to your standards rather than allowing your feelings to dictate how you show up, you're going to get to the end of the year, and coming for everything isn't just going to be some mantra that you say. People are going to look and say, oh my goodness, the way that Belen attacked, the way that Andy attacked, the way that Tim attacked, the way that Brett attacked. They didn't just say coming for everything. They lived it one day at a time. Your best year is right in front of you. I encourage you to attack it. Brett, if you have any final thoughts, I want to give it to you. And then if you can turn it back over to me, there's one final thing that I want to share to hammer home this mindset, coming for everything, living to the standard, standard over feelings, before we turn loose to go attack this year.
Yeah, it's the top of the first, right? Like, brand new year, we have the opportunity to make this one of the best ones yet. I really like what you just said about, people that have done really well in the business. We don't even know what we're really capable of, because some of us, myself included, we got so focused on the money that we did, we kind of took our eye off the ball, so to speak. So that definitely spoke to me. I do appreciate that. And, better days ahead. But again, I think it goes back to like not making the same mistakes and the same pitfalls. So I want to open it up for questions. Deidara, anything from you?
No, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here, for the invitation. I always listen to Ben Newman on the podcast, and you always
thank you.
right on spot.
Thank you.
It's the
Thank
first
you.
time being on a mastermind or the
When
mindset
you
that
get
is
whatever
meeting
he
with
needs
you.
in there.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Jorge Armstrong, how about you, buddy?
Give me 1 second. 1 second. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. What's the question? Sorry, I just logged in. I didn't have to.
You're good. We wanted to see if you had anything for Ben. You always have good feedback, good questions.
And love your messages in the morning. God bless you. Thank you for everything, and coming for everything as well.
I love it. Thank you, Jorge.
One of the few guys in town that's actually recruiting people right now, which I love. I love to see Jorge's making posts. He's getting out there, building the team, building the dynasty. So, no, good work. I'm proud of you, brother.
Thank you.
Excellent. I take it home, Ben.
All right, let me share this final thing with you. So, Brian, thank you. Hopefully it was better the second time around. A little bit different, catered directly to all of you. But there's one thing that I forgot on Uncommon Live that I'm not going to forget today. Sometimes I get so fired up, I get forgetful. But I've gone back and I'm reading a book by Michael Jordan called Driven from Within. And I always make a joke when I say this. I say, I'm not here to debate who's better, LeBron or Michael, but Michael Jordan is the GOAT. There is no debate. LeBron is number 2. For those of you LeBron fans, that doesn't mean that LeBron is bad. For goodness sakes, the guy's number 2 ever to walk the face of the earth. That's a great thing, but Michael Jordan is the GOAT. So I'm reading this book. I've read it about 3 or 4 times, and there's a page in the book, and up at the top of the page, it says uncompromised. So here's what I want you to think about. Everything that I've shared, if you believe in the mindset, if you believe in this strength you've created that you didn't have, but you had to go through what you've been through to build this strength, if you believe that the rates are going down, if you believe that you don't want to be seduced by success when this next level success you've never experienced comes, if you believe that standard over feelings is the way to your next life, if you believe that coming for everything isn't something you just want to say because you think it sounds good, it's a way you want to live, then you one day at a time have to choose to not compromise those beliefs. You have to choose to not make excuses. You have to choose when it's inconvenient to say, I'm not going to do it now. You have to be uncompromised. And here's what Michael Jordan has to say about the uncompromised mindset. Some players look at me for all the wrong reasons: marketing, admiration, money made off the court. They don't understand the foundation I had to create to support everything that came afterward. They don't know about lifting weights at 7 a.m., practicing hard every day, finding ways to motivate myself for every game, sitting up half the night with an ankle in a bucket of ice, or hooked up to an electronic stimulation machine. They don't know about those things. What they do know is that I have my own shoe line and that I did McDonald's commercials. In a sense, my experience created a vision that obscured the hard work and commitment. With the attention on the surface, it's easy to become confused about the source of money and glamour. You have to be uncompromised in your level of commitment to whatever you're doing, or it can disappear as fast as it appeared. Some players noticed me because of everything I was doing off the court, and that was the wrong reason to pay attention to me. Pay attention to the way I played the game. Pay attention to my passion. Pay attention to the idea of focusing on improvement every day. Pay attention to my commitment. Commitment cannot be compromised by rewards. Excellence isn't a 1 week or 1 year ideal. It's a constant. There will be days when you don't feel on top of your game, or meetings in which you aren't at your best, but your commitment remains constant. No compromises. Thank you for this opportunity to spend time with all of you. I look forward to a great year together. Baird, I look forward to seeing you in Mexico City in a week. And
See you in a
I
week,
love
brother.
you, brother. I appreciate
You too. Thank
all
you
of
so
you.
much.
And Brett, I'll let you close us out. Thank you all so much.
No, thanks again. Like, we love having everyone on. We had a really good group today. You'll get a recap from Katie as well as the recording if you guys want to share it with any of your teams, and we'll get the next one scheduled. But again, I appreciate y'all. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through it together, and we're going to come out better than ever here in 2024. Thanks, guys.